Camp secret number 1. Connection comes first.
There is no doubt in my mind that I am the person I am today because of camp. The lessons I have learned at camp about being optimistic, positive, friendly, and outgoing have helped me through many hard times and have helped me to achieve successes that I never thought possible. I learned that with everything I do, it's about the process, not the end result. That lesson I have applied to my life and every experience I am in. Leaving camp this summer, it was very hard to close this chapter of my life and experience the transformation from child and camper to adult. But as I look back, I honestly know that camp was the highlight of my childhood and a major part of my life. I cannot thank you enough for 8 amazing summers filled with pure happiness, and for creating a second home for me where I can truly be myself. Stevie.
Some of the most touching testimonials I've received about camp include the words home or family. Many campers think of their few weeks at camp as their annual time to get back in touch with themselves and their close friends. As young adults, they are often drawn back to camp to serve as counselors because of their desire to pass along these values to the next generation. When adults reminisce about their camp days, they often say things like, "I met my best friend at camp. We're still friends 30 years later." The relationships and connections campers experience are not just a small part of the program we offer, but the basis for the entire experience. The story about camp is a story about connections. If our campers don't feel accepted, included, and valued, nothing else we teach or do at camp matters. We could have the snazziest cabins, the most delicious food, and the coolest zip lines and jet skis. But if we aren't helping kids form connections, we aren't doing what matters most. I believe the exact same thing is true in our families. Creating a close and connected family culture that promotes positive, lifelong relationships is the most important thing we can do for our children. Warm and supportive parent-child relationships, a sense of being loved, and help and support from family members serve as protective factors and increase children's resilience and their ability to face many of life's inevitable challenges. This doesn't happen just because you live under the same roof, and it doesn't happen by filling your home with cool stuff or your calendar with lavish vacations. Just like at camp, connections are the result of intentionally chosen, day-to-day family habits that create feelings of warmth and belonging. Social connections predict happiness and success. Very little that is positive is solitary. When was the last time you laughed uproariously? The last time you felt indescribable joy? The last time you sensed profound meaning and purpose? The last time you felt enormously proud of an accomplishment? Even without knowing the particulars of these high points of your life, I know their form. All of them took place around other people. Martin Seligman, Flourish. To understand why it's important to take connections so seriously, we need look no further than the multiple studies, including the landmark 80-year Harvard Men's Study, that have shown how social connections are the greatest predictor of all aspects of lifelong success, including health, academics, and career. This study, along with much recent research in the field of positive psychology, has provided countless examples of why our social connections are so important. One such researcher and a founder of the positive psychology movement, Martin Seligman, wrote the book Flourish, A Visionary New Understanding of Happiness and Well-Being. In it, he explores PERMA, the acronym he uses to define his theory, and 5 measurable elements that lead to well-being. According to Seligman, in addition to positive emotion, P, engagement, E, meaning, M, and accomplishment, A key element of well-being is positive relationships, R. When I first read Flourish, I kept having aha moments. Finally, I'd found the science behind why kids flourish at camp, which led me to how this science could be applied for kids who will flourish at home. Next, I explore PERMA as a framework to show you how. P, positive emotion. Positive emotion is exactly what it sounds like, feeling happy and having positive thoughts about yourself, the people around you, or your surroundings. At camp, positive emotions are the norm, not the exception. We're singing, we're dancing, we're doing skits that don't make sense, but they cause us to laugh so hard our stomachs hurt. Whether we're telling jokes and stories around the campfire or just entertaining ourselves by talking and hanging out together, positive emotion is literally swirling around camp. Creating positive emotions at home requires that we make sure to do activities that elicit positive feelings. Anything we can do with our families that makes us laugh, smile, or feel good increases the positive emotion in each of us as individuals. A few years ago, when I was deeply sucked into Pinterest, during nightly sessions of pinning, I started a board called Funny. While most of the things I put on there were not funny to my kids, what was funny to them was watching me laugh so hard until I cried. Whatever we can do to bring some laughter and fun to our homes, the better we all feel. E, engagement. Seligman describes engagement as being interested in and connected to what you are doing. When you're engaged in your hobby or book or job, you're fired up about learning something new and energized by the activity. At camp, kids are constantly exposed to new experiences and challenges, both recreational and social, that get them interested and excited to learn. They're pushed to get outside their comfort zones and really engage. For some kids, their stay at camp is the first time they've slept away from home and their parents, and they are engaged in learning to live with a group of new people. For others, the camp dance is the first time they've ever danced with other kids, so they're being engaged socially in new ways. With our families at home, one way to increase engagement is to try a new activity or visit a new place together. Perhaps there's a craft you make as a family, or everyone could go for a hike or a bike ride. Each time we expose our kids to something new that they haven't done before, we present them with the opportunity to engage with something potentially fascinating to them. This can lead to their continued interest in trying new things and finding the engagement that makes them excited to wake up in the morning. R, relationships. As Seligman and other researchers found, and most of us intuitively know, other people are the best antidote to the downs of life and the single most reliable up. We all know that positive relationships are one of the main contributors to our happiness in life, so it's no surprise that relationships are an important pillar of Seligman's theory of what it takes to achieve well-being. Our life's relationships with our parents, our siblings, our friends, our spouses, and our coworkers are key to our happiness. At camp, everyone comes to see their old friends, make new friends, and just spend quality time connecting with others and building positive relationships. These relationships at camp are positive, grow strong quickly, and help kids flourish because they do not come with all the competition and baggage that kids have in some of their relationships elsewhere. Two bright students who are close friends are also competing for the valedictorian spot. Or two athletes who have grown up together are competing for the same position on a soccer team, and so on. The stress that's part of relationships in the real world may challenge our kids' ability to connect. That's why our family relationships are so important. For our kids, family relationships are their first opportunity to experience the positive connections that teach them how to learn and relate to others, even amidst challenge. The love and caring they experience from parents and older siblings teach kids skills they will use their entire lives in friendships and romantic relationships. At home is where our kids first experience the positive relationships that are key to their well-being. M, meaning. To flourish in life, we need to feel that there is meaning to our existence, that we matter and have value in this world. According to Seligman, meaning comes from belonging to and serving something that you believe is bigger than the self. Being a member of a cabin group at camp helps kids gain an understanding of how they are valued by others. For some kids, camp is the first place where they understand what it means to be a valued and an accepted member of an outside community. Unlike at school, where some kids can feel invisible and go through a day without connecting with others, camp forces integration. Through the experience of being an integral part of their cabin group, kids discover their character strengths through recognition from peers and counselors. While at camp, kids also have the opportunity to feel part of something bigger than themselves, a camp community that goes back nearly a century, where we still get to follow the same traditions our predecessors did. While learning about friendship, gratitude, and kindness, and practicing those skills, kids learn that they can positively impact others. They learn that they have purpose and that there is meaning in life. At home, we can help our kids find meaning in their roles in our family by making sure they know they are a necessary and important part of making our household and family function well. Something as simple as asking them to help cook dinner or clean up afterward presents the opportunity for kids to increase their feeling of connection and meaning in the family. A. Achievement. People flourish when pursuing goals and challenging themselves toward the mastery of a skill. While having a one-time achievement is wonderful, much of the benefit comes from the good feelings we get while striving toward the achievement. Many people report that it was a lot of fun working their way up and accomplishing small steps on the way to a goal. In fact, many people feel disappointed once a goal has been achieved and realize the truth in the saying, "Life is a journey, not a destination." My husband, an accomplished runner and triathlete, has often shared about his post-race blues. After all the hours of training and working toward a specific time or milestone in a race, once the race is over, he has a feeling of being let down, even after achieving his desired goal. Working toward the goal is what he enjoys most, so he signs up for another event. Every day at camp, kids have the opportunity to try new things, master new skills, and both give to and receive encouragement from others who are there to do the same. Some kids arrive at camp with a specific goal, a bullseye at archery or getting up on a slalom water ski. But others simply practice and work toward improving or challenge themselves to try something that frightens them, like completing the ropes course. And all of their progress and achievements made in the supportive company of friends add to kids flourishing at camp. At home, we can encourage our kids to set goals by modeling that we, too, are setting and reaching goals. My pursuit of a master's degree and the hours of reading, research, and study showed my kids firsthand what it looks like to set and work toward a goal. Our kids learn much more from how they see us living than anything we tell them to do. If we want our kids to set and reach big goals, we need to demonstrate how that's done and show them how we encourage other family members to dream big. Speaking of goals and how connection fuels a successful life, we now look to Harvard researcher Sean Aker's book, The Happiness Advantage. In it, he describes his study of 1,600 undergraduates that determined social support is a far greater predictor of happiness than any other factor, more than GPA, family income, SAT scores, age, gender, or race. Further, for those who remain unconvinced that happiness is a valid goal, Aker relays the finding that the happier you are, the more advantages you accrue in nearly every domain of life. For our kids, feeling connected and the associated appreciation and belonging is vital to their well-being and their future success. The research therefore validates putting as much, if not more, effort into having kids who feel connected and have close relationships with other people than having kids who excel at academics or athletics. Which college our kid goes to is less likely to determine their eventual success than the quality of their relationships. Real relationships. Quality of relationships is so important. There's one concept counselors at Gold Arrow focus on throughout each summer. The concept is reinforced with the word we created, real relationship. In order to help our campers distinguish between the many friends, online and in person, they have already encountered, instead of relationship, we say real relationship, with emphasis on the real. Many of our campers come to us from lives drenched in social media and face competitive pressure academically, in sports, and sometimes between siblings in their own family. Some children believe, whether accurately or not, that their parents' and others' love and acceptance of them is based on their appearance or individual achievements. The most important thing their time at camp can do is fuel their spirit with strong friendships and acceptance for who they are. Just like our counselors' most important priority is to form positive, close relationships with each of their campers, parents, too, need to prioritize forming real relationships with each child. This close connection is more important than any other aspect of parenting. Forming a positive, nurturing relationship with your child will help ensure your child's future success and happiness in all areas of life. A, acceptance, plus B, belonging, equals C, connection. Forming close connections with children can be remembered using the acronym ABC. Acceptance plus belonging equals connection. The most basic element of any real relationship is spending time getting to know each other. At my camp, starting with their very first interaction and continuing throughout the camp session, we strive to go beyond simply learning our campers' names and surface information about their family, like where they're from, and what hobbies and sports they like. The goal, once a comfort level has been achieved, is to learn about each camper's inner strengths and what makes them tick. Camp counselors learn these deeper character traits through asking a lot of questions, listening well to their answers, modeling and encouraging vulnerability, and expressing sincere interest in each camper. Parents, too, can practice these same techniques at home, asking questions, listening well, and sharing personal stories to form closer bonds with children. While it may feel awkward at first, you can start a family habit of having conversations similar to the ones camp counselors lead. More ideas for conversation-starting questions you can ask your kids are in this chapter's Around the Campfire activity and in Questions for Connection in the PDF resources. At Yosemite Sierra, counselors build close connections with campers with a nightly tuck-in. Whether the camper is 8 or 17, starting on the first night of camp and continuing throughout the 2-week session, the counselor comes over to each camper's bunk, shares a kindness or an affirmation with them, checks on how they're doing, and wishes them a good sleep. On the first night, added messages include, "I'm so glad you're in my group. I've been waiting for you," as well as comments about any information counselors were made aware of ahead of time. While it may feel strange on the first day of camp when they've just met, campers quickly come to expect their nightly tuck-in. They also quickly come to love the nurturing from their counselor. Kids of every age enjoy this kind of nightly connection with parents at home. My daughter, at age 11, returned from a sleepover at a friend's house and told me she was surprised that her friend's mother didn't come to say goodnight to them or tuck her friend in. It was my daughter's first experience of not having an adult say goodnight, as she had become accustomed to the practice of a nighttime connection, both at home and at camp. No matter their age, kids enjoy being tucked in, whether that means an actual bedside chat or a simple hug goodnight. Often, when our kids most need those nightly chats, pre-adolescence and the teen years, that's when parents start to believe they are too old to be tucked in and stop the regular nighttime visits. For as long as possible, stop by your kids' room, give them a quick back rub or hug, and see if they have anything to share. Many important conversations and sharing happen in the comfort of a dark room right before sleep. In our busy family lives, we can easily fall into unhealthy patterns that ignore some of our own and our children's basic needs to be seen, heard, and loved. By focusing on connecting daily, you can help your child feel the acceptance and belonging they need in order to feel the connection that is vital to their well-being. This formula produces close friendships in just 2 weeks of camp, friendships that campers say are the closest relationships they've ever experienced. Parents, too, can create these same feelings at home. A. Acceptance. Be you. Campers often say that while at camp, they feel accepted just the way they are, without judgment. In the words of one camper, "Camp is my getaway. I can be myself. I come back every year because it's the one place I feel safe." After hearing this same message from many different campers over the years, I have come to understand more clearly that many campers don't feel as accepted for who they are when they're not at camp. Taking a look at the lives my own kids lead outside of camp, it's easy for me to see how hard it is to be you in a world that pressures kids to fit in. With much of their social lives being lived online and not face-to-face, kids spend a lot of time presenting themselves and their lives as far from real as one can get. Being genuine or even being in touch with who they really are can become challenging. Finding people who accept them just the way they are and embracing their own unique personality and strengths is the furthest thing from our kids' minds when they walk into middle school or post and chat online. Instead, many are so desperate to fit in, to be popular, and to be liked that they often go to extremes to not be themselves. At home, our children need to feel accepted for who they are instead of feeling compared to others or pressured to pursue interests that are more valued by parents or our culture at large. When parents recognize and encourage their unique strengths and interests, children feel accepted. Parents can encourage children to be themselves by showing their own quirky traits and expressing positive feelings about people who are doing unique things. At camp, being goofy or what would be considered uncool in the real world becomes the norm because counselors model for campers that it's okay to just relax and be themselves. New campers quickly learn that they will be treated with kindness and respect, accepted and embraced for who they are, regardless of their quirks. At camp, we embrace and celebrate individuality, and we model this in our interactions with fellow counselors and our campers. By embracing and celebrating your child's individuality, you too can create this same culture of acceptance at home. What can parents learn from camp counselors to foster feelings of acceptance? Perhaps the most important lesson is what to focus on in conversations with kids. Summer camp is naturally not a place where kids get asked much about school. Instead, counselors focus on asking kids questions about what they like, their goals, and their dreams. Encouraging kids to share stories about themselves is one way counselors get to know their campers better. Camp sessions always start with icebreakers, either as a whole camp, in small groups, or some combination of both. Normally relegated to kindergarten classrooms, show and tell has made a resurgence at Cape Cod Sea Camps. As a get-to-know-you activity, campers and staff share an item that is meaningful to them and explain why. The objects they share tell you so much about the kids, says Director Daniela Guerin. In the very first day of camp, counselors at Cape Cod Sea Camps know something special and unique about each of their campers based on the items they share and the stories they tell. In describing the traditional first night activities at Yosemite Sierra, Sarah Kulias describes all 200 campers and staff members, 120 campers and 80 staff, gathering in a meadow for a series of large and small group icebreaker games. The culminating game, called The Biggest Fan, is a huge game of Rochambeau with a twist. Once someone loses in a match, they become a fan of the person they lost to. By the end of the game, 2 huge groups of fans are cheering on the final 2 competitors. According to Kulias, the game creates in kids the feeling of being each other's fans and encouraging each other that carries over into camp. She says they use the game with all different populations, including inner-city groups that attend camp for a week, and all of the kids enjoy the game and feel more connected to each other after playing. Creating a camper code, or what campers at Chile, Colorado camps call a code of living, is an important part of the beginning of each camp session and can provide inspiration for families seeking to live together with more kindness and respect. The campers create a list of 5 to 8 character traits that would be important in their community, traits that they like in their friends. We reference the code of living throughout the summer to keep it alive and ingrained in our community, says Jeff Cheeley, owner and director of the camp. This type of counselor-guided discussion is a common way to start a camp session. Counselors assert that put-downs, negative comments, teasing, or shaming, even done in jest, will not be part of camp life. Counselors also let campers know that the cabin group is like a family, and each of them brings different qualities to the group that will add to the experience. Counselors lead a brainstorming discussion of ways campers will support one another. The campers themselves usually come up with ideas like building each other up, encouraging one another, and focusing on positive qualities. These are then introduced as the group norms, written down, and reviewed as needed. Campers who need extra practice at being kind and accepting are given specific coaching by counselors in one-on-one meetings. Even with teenage boys who are accustomed to disrespecting each other for fun, and teenage girls who have grown accustomed to social aggression through backstabbing, gossiping, or leaving people out, counselors are able to model and insist upon a new way of interacting with one another, one that is far from the cultural norm in middle and high school. B. Belonging. You are valued and needed here. Right from the start of camp, counselors are intentional about doing specific activities that create a sense of belonging. Parents, too, regardless of our children's ages, can use these same types of activities to foster greater feelings of belonging at home. Games and discussions that help people get to know each other, often called team building, are a way of life at camp, done throughout the day during walks between activities, while waiting for programs to start, and around the campfire. Counselors select partners for paired activities like canoeing and charge campers with a get-to-know-you task to complete during the activity. For example, the campers might be asked to find 3 things they have in common. At the end of the activity, they share with the rest of the group what they learned about each other. Cabin group cheers, stories, made-up words, and inside jokes also bring kids closer to their group and make them feel like they belong. Another way to intentionally create feelings of belonging at home is by leading children through a daily reminiscing of events similar to the discussion counselors lead around the campfire. Around the dinner table or at campfire, children enjoy talking and laughing about shared and individual experiences from their day. Each shared camp or family experience children discuss, even seemingly negative ones like being stuck on the shore of the lake for an hour or having a car breakdown on vacation, serve as another connection point that helps kids feel a sense of belonging to their group or family. Group memories, recollected in sharing time, create a deep sense of belonging and are one of the reasons campers say their camp friends are their closest ones despite spending only a few weeks a year with them. Dawn Whipple, director of Mountain Camp, describes a daily activity they do to connect with each other called Roses, Thorns, and Leaves. Each camper shares their rose, or high point of the day, their thorn, which was their most challenging moment, and their leaf, which is what they're looking forward to tomorrow. Parents can elicit these same feelings of belonging at home by intentionally creating times to reflect on individual and family memories. Photos and family videos also create a great starting point for reflecting on shared experiences. Chores and the accompanying sense of being an integral and important member of their cabin group are a way of life at camp. Working together at cabin cleanup, campfire building, outdoor cooking, setting up their campsite on backpacking trips, clearing and cleaning their dining table, and much more all offer opportunities for campers to feel a sense of belonging and being needed. Kids rarely sit idly by watching counselors do daily chores. Instead, kids are working side by side, learning the skills they'll need in order to be able to do these things for themselves without help soon. Not only do campers develop good cleaning skills, but they also gain a key understanding of how important each of them is to the successful functioning of their group. Being needed fosters feelings of belonging. Kids benefit from feeling needed at home as much as at summer camp, and shared household chores, despite being a cause of complaint, make children feel that they are an important and valued member of the family. C. Connection. Unplug and connect face-to-face.
I get to come out here and not have my phone. It sounds weird for a teenager to say that, I know, but it's just fun to be able to not have it, not have to worry about it, not have to stress about it. Jack.
One of the reasons kids feel such a sense of connection at camp is, ironically, that they are disconnected from technology. Most traditional camps continue to embrace being unplugged as a fundamental part of the camp experience. Campers leave their devices at home. No television or Netflix, no texting, no posting, no Snapchat streaks to keep up with. No wondering who has the latest iPhone model. Nor are there worries about low batteries. No screens at all, just them, face-to-face with other kids, living in the moment without worrying about recording the moment for others to see. Besides helping them get to know and accept each other, a side benefit of being unplugged for a few weeks is the brain space that gets opened up for reflection. Moments watching the sun set over the lake, or the stars shoot across the sky, 5-minute quiet times on backpacking trips and hikes, and hours spent doing crafts like friendship bracelets, crocheting, and painting offer opportunities for reflection campers do not normally experience when they are constantly on their screens or rushing from one activity to the next. These moments sometimes give campers clarity about how they'd like to change the way they spend their time, and often lead to decisions about sports or activities they no longer want to participate in, as well as new goals and activities they wish to pursue. On pickup day from camp, I was chatting with parents, who happened to be former campers and staff themselves, when their son told them, "I've decided not to play baseball this year." He explained that it was taking up too much of his time and he had other activities he wanted to pursue. Serving as a place where kids can take some time to both get in better touch with who they really are and feel accepted for being themselves is one result of the intentional decision to prohibit screens at camp. It's also the result of scheduling times for reflection and introspection during organized group events. Allowing unscheduled, unstructured downtimes when campers can think about and pursue their own interests is a priority at camp. Kids growing up in this media and screen-saturated time are a living experiment. We don't know how all this screen use is going to impact their future lives, but we've already seen clues. Generational researcher Jean Twenge has found a direct cause and effect relationship between the rise in smartphone use and the rise in adolescent anxiety, depression, and suicide. My oldest 3 children were already close to adulthood when the smartphone and social media craze hit. They were flip phone users until age 18. But my youngest kids, born in 2001 and 2003, are experiencing growing up in a different era. They don't remember a time before smartphones were ubiquitous, and they've been playing on devices since they were young. They are what Twenge calls iGen, and others refer to as Gen Z. Following the millennials, they are having their own unique experience of childhood, one that is dominated by screen use by their parents and everyone around them. It's no surprise that it's now the norm to see a group of kids sitting at Starbucks together or hanging around after school, all looking down at their phones. They've been watching adults and are mimicking what they've seen. While I'm driving my boys and their friends around, they are on their devices the majority of the time. They are often talking about and connecting over what they're doing and seeing on each other's phones, but they are still looking mostly at the screens instead of each other. Until kids are specifically asked to put their devices away, they generally won't voluntarily do so. What most adults are modeling is constant checking of phones during any moment of pause or boredom. So that's what kids are learning to do too. A side note here is that when I only have my 2 teenage sons with me without any friends, my front passenger seat is a designated no phone zone. My reason for this no device and no headphones rule in the front seat is that before my kids were teens, I saw so many kids sitting with their headphones on in the front seat of their parents' car, not talking or interacting with their parent, and I didn't want that to happen with my own kids. If I'm a passenger with a friend, I interact and talk with my friend. That's the polite, respectful thing to do. So if my kids are passengers in my car, it's more polite for them to talk with me or not talk with me and be in charge of the music or map. I also put whoever is in the front seat in charge of my phone to answer any texts, etc. They're also free to stare out the window, a pastime mostly lost to this generation. Plus, my kids often end up talking while we drive around, and we have some of our best conversations in the car. Another side benefit to my no phone shotgun seat rule is that there are rarely squabbles about who sits in the front seat, and it's not always the oldest in that spot because there are benefits to both the front and back seat in my car. I know some parents who enforce a no screens rule in their car, preferring their kids use the time for conversation or just the all-important staring out the window that dominated our own childhoods. Researchers, I am certain, will continue to find that all this screen use is not good for our kids or for us. In a November 2016 article, the American College of Pediatricians encouraged parents to become media literate and limit all screen time for their children. Parents, too, must limit their own screen time, especially the use of smartphones, to improve their interaction and engagement with their children. I, of course, focus on the interaction and engagement with their children piece of this advice. The screen problem is not just our children's, it is ours as well. I know from my own research at camp that kids feel closer connections and more happiness while they're at camp. While there are many factors that contribute to these positive outcomes, I believe that being disconnected from screens is one of the most important variables. Closer connections come through intentional time spent together, fully present with the person we are with, preferably doing fun and enjoyable things not associated with a screen. In their book, The Danish Way of Parenting, What the Happiest People in the World Know About Raising Confident, Capable Kids, Jessica Alexander and Eben Sandel share about the Danish tradition of hygge. Hygge, they say, involves cozying around together, lighting candles, playing games, eating nice meals, having cake and tea, and just generally being in each other's company in a cozy atmosphere. This Danish tradition seemed foreign to American-born Alexander, who married a Dane, who was accustomed to the more limited, around-the-holidays-only family gatherings more prevalent in the United States. When I interviewed Alexander, I told her that hygge reminded me of our nightly campfires, where campers gathered to relax, chat, roast marshmallows, and pop popcorn. She remembered her own camp days fondly and agreed that campfires were a good example of hygge. It makes perfect sense that this Danish tradition of hygge, relaxed time just hanging out together and enjoying each other's company, usually with some food involved, really is one of the reasons why Danish people consistently rank as the happiest. They are masters at connecting. Bringing camp home, creating closer family connections. Connection is why we're here. It gives purpose and meaning to our lives. Brené Brown, The Gifts of Imperfect Parenting. All of this unplugging and hygge time to connect is far easier to accomplish at summer camp, gathered around our nightly campfire, than it is at home. But as parents, there are simple steps we can take based on ideas from camp to create more connected families. Family, after all, is the place where our kids learn about relationships and experience their first connections. Here are some camp practices you can bring home to foster closer connections. One simple thing. Part of our camp counselor's job description includes checking in with each camper every day. We call these check-in meetings one-on-ones. In the camp setting, counselors ask campers specific questions to elicit how campers are feeling. These are individual conversations out of earshot of other kids that last anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. The result? Each camper feels seen, heard, and validated each day, and the counselor knows what's going on with each of their campers and knows how to best support them. At Yosemite Sierra, the tuck-in is their daily check-in with campers, and at Cape Cod Sea Camp, they have a nightly health check to note how kids are feeling physically, but also to find out how they're doing in general. Counselors at Cape Cod Sea Camps will often ask campers to share a word that describes their day. One of Garen's favorite camper descriptive words? Fantabulous. I've often marveled how, in our busy go-go-go family life, a day can go by without any real one-on-one conversation with our kids that addresses